pharmacovigilance and data management data management option, whatever option you have chosen. So before we sort of go into brief introduction, can we have a very quick introductions about your backgrounds uh, and what you do, your education, where are you from, which city, um, and your sort of reason for doing this program. Let's start with, I can see on screen Tejaswini. Tejaswini, could we have your introduction, please? And you need to unmute. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Tejaswini Borse, and I'm from Jalgaon, Maharashtra.
What do you
I
do, Tejaswini, your education and
uh,
your work experience?
yes, I completed B Pharmacy in 2018, and I'm currently working in medical coding.
Okay. And where are you working at present?
At present, I'm working in Advanced Med India LLP, Ahmedabad.
You're located in Ahmedabad. Okay, great. Welcome to the program. Shivam.
Hi, my name is Shivam Chaudhary and I'm from Muzaffarnagar.
Yes, Shivam. Give me your background, your education experience, year of passing.
I have completed my M.Pharm from MIT in 2019. Now I am currently working as an assistant professor in
In
Bhagwati
in
College of Pharmacy.
where are you located? In which city?
Uh, Badod, sir.
You're currently based in Badod. Okay, great. Welcome to the program. Uras, uh, there was another person.
Yes, sir. My name is Boras. I'm from
Yeah.
Muzaffarnagar twin. I'm a B Pharma graduate, 2019 batch.
Okay.
I'm currently working in a pharmaceutical company in Uttarakhand.
In which field?
Sir, production.
Production. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Okay. Great. All right. Uh, Priyanka Joshi.
Hi, my name is Priyanka and I'm from Mumbai and I completed in BSc Chemistry in 2020 and I'm presently working in CRL Diagnostics in private limited as an extension department, uh, recently working.
Okay. Thank you, Priyanka. We
Thank you.
have, that's it. Uh, okay. Shivam has done the introduction. Shivam.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you have done the introduction, Shivam?
Yes, sir. Already done.
Okay. You're already done. Okay. Great. All right. Welcome you all. I think there are a couple of two, three more students. So I think they will be joining. So
Sir, Praveen Sandhu is joined, sir.
Praveen has joined. Hi, Praveen. Hello. Hi. Good evening, Praveen. Please uh, introduce yourself, Praveen.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Parveen Sandhu. I have done M Pharma from Kurukshetra University in 2018, and from since I have assistant professor at RPT College, Bastada, Karnal.
Okay. Great. All right. That's great. All right.
And sir,
So, yeah.
one more, sir, Tejaswini Borse.
Yeah. Tejaswini has spoken, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
She has
I think,
spoken.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And welcome you all to the program. So, this program is the weekend part of we have a full time version for the students who are not working, mostly freshers and people with, yeah, almost freshers or who are not working at all. They normally join the full time, our programs. The weekend program is generally designed to deliver, the entire education what we offer in 3 months over the 6 months period, and all the topics are well covered, which are covered in the full time. Uh, this program will cover clinical research, pharmacovigilance, and data management aspects. I believe there is a student from a BSc background as well. And so we would be covering data management aspects as well in this program. We This is going to be 6 months, so Saturday, Sunday as of now planned. And I think uh, would, in the best interest of the program, where all students should be able to benefit, because it's very important to have the discipline of the classes over the weekends, because you are getting twice a week. So let's make sure that you are able to attend these sessions. So they will be very, unlike full-time students, they have a 5 days a week, you have twice a week. So do you want, and I think because we have numbers are less today, we can check, shall we keep this once a week and we have 2 sessions, let's say on Saturday evening, or we do the 2 sessions on Sunday? So what is the opinion? I think because that way we can design the program to benefit all the students, because and this is where we would like to hear from each one of you. It's very easy for us to do the program, one session, one main session on Saturday, one on Sunday, and there will be some additional sessions on things like communication or the aptitude tests, and all those things will be separate sessions, but the core sessions will be 2 a week. So do you want these 2 sessions over the weekends in one day, or do you want to still have a split, one Saturday, one Sunday, so at least in case you miss out one, you attend the other? Can we have a very quick sort of a people who would like to do both days? You can raise your hand from there. Let's take a quick vote. If you 2 days more, right? So majority is 2 days. So that's fair. Okay, let's go ahead. So fantastic. There's a good clarity now that we will be doing the both days, the classes. The clinical research, as you all of you can sort of remove down your hands now. And so in clinical research, you're going to learn what happens in the clinical trials, how the entire drug development process works, what happens between the time you start sort of a drug research in the laboratory stage to the post-marketing stage, what happens this entire journey of the clinical trials, how a drug goes into the laboratory stage research, and how we conduct the preclinical studies on the animal models, and how we conduct the clinical trials as per certain regulations, as per certain guidelines, like I said, GCP principles. What are the ethical norms we have for the clinical trials? What regulations we follow? Which are the essential documents? Roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders, project management, drug safety issues. So it's an end-to-end program which will give you a very good perspective about the clinical trials. Clinical trials is a very long, cumbersome process. Bringing a drug to the market takes about normally 8 to 10 years of research. It takes over $1 billion of investment before you bring one drug to the market. From 1,500, 2,000 molecules, by the time the drug hits the market, it's only one drug which, reaches that to the market. So it's a comprehensive process to ensure the long-term safety and also the efficacy of the drug in the patient population. There's a second aspect is the pharmacovigilance, drug safety, extremely important. What happens, the safety of the drug during the clinical trials, we ensure the safety of the drug, but we need to ensure that post-marketing, when the drug comes into the market, it continues to be safe. What are the adverse events? What are the adverse reactions taking place? How are we going to capture this information, analyze this information, and report it to the regulatory agencies? And how the regulatory agencies then utilize this information with the help of signal detection tools to decide whether the drug continues to be safe and it needs to be in the market for the patients, or the drug needs to be banned if it's causing significant serious adverse events. So that's some of the pharmacovigilance you're going to learn in detail. We have the things like data management, how the data for the clinical trials is collected, how it is integrated with the help of softwares, how we analyze this data, clinical data. Extremely important part of the clinical trials, because one wrong sort of information in the data management, it can impact the entire study. So with this, you are going to have a fairly comprehensive learning sessions over the next 6 months. Please do attend all the sessions. Apart from this, there will be some sessions from time to time, extracurricular sessions on the English communications, or some other sort of extra debates, or the group discussions, or the poster presentation activities. Some assignments will be there. There are certain softwares which are made part of this program. You're going to learn those softwares as well. The entire content is delivered through our learning management system. So perhaps my colleague, Dr. Vipra, today will show you how do you access your content. So all of you, by Monday or Tuesday, you will receive your username and passwords and the link on how to access your content. So content is in the form of presentation, notes, audio, video recordings. So all these sessions which will take place, including today's session, will be recorded every time, and you can access these sessions during your entire program anytime, 24/7. Login you will get, and you can access all the content which is there. There are practice tests as well in our learning management system. With every topic, you can practice your test. The program is accredited program, certified program by the Government of India, and my colleagues would have already told you. It's certified by the Life Sciences Sector Skill Development Council under the Ministry of Skill Development. So your final exam, hence your final exam will take place on the government portal at the LSSDC examination portal, and your certification will come after that once you complete, and then you get the Cliniminds diploma along with this. Very comprehensive placement program is in place. Because you're in weekend session, there will be a special session after second or third month onwards on your placement issues as well. Placement is a very comprehensive process at Cliniminds. We provide you the pre-placement training, how to write CV, how to prepare for, there will be mock interviews, sessions arranged from time to time. So please attend those sessions, very important, that because these are the sessions where you are going to learn how the interviews are done in such pharma life sciences companies for the clinical research, pharmacovigilance, or data management, what questions they ask. So we will be covering very comprehensive interview preparation sessions in the next 6 months. Once the program is at the end, we start arranging interviews. You need to be in contact with the placement head, Mr. Rahul Malia. So next weekend, we have kept a separate session with Mr. Rahul Malia, who will be talking to you specifically on the placements. I would like to also introduce you today my two colleagues, Dr. Vipra. Dr. Vipra is the head of the operations, training operations in the clinical operations, senior experienced clinical research professional and excellent trainer. So Dr. Vipra will be covering the clinical trial sessions. I also have my colleague, Mr. Saeed Shadab. Saeed is a very senior pharmacovigilance professional for over 18 years of experience in pharmacovigilance domain worldwide. He has worked with leading international companies in India and abroad. Saeed sir will be taking sessions, training sessions on pharmacovigilance, and he is the best in the business. He will ensure that you learn and you take interest, you learn. Apart from these sessions, continue to do your own things. One of the most important things in this industry is also your general knowledge. Keep in touch with the pharma industry, see what is happening around you, which pharma companies in clinical research, pharmacovigilance, what do they do. Keep your journal awareness about the company is, well. And Google is a great source. Build your own newsletter on Google. A lot of things you can do these days. Build your own automatic newsletter on Google. It's a great tool. I mean, in the good old world, it was very hard for us to do these, build the newsletters. But today, with just click of few keywords, what do you want to see in the new Google newsletter? Create your own newsletter. So it will give you every morning along with your tea, along with your newspaper. Also, build your own newsletter from the Google, and you'll be able to see what is current going on in this industry in clinical research and pharmacovigilance, what new research is happening. So all these things you need you yourself also to keep in touch with the industry. Communication is very important. English communication plays a very important role in this sector. All your projects, all your interviews in the companies will be in English, and all of you, I understand, have good uh, understanding of the English. But I think this is the area constantly improve. Watch videos. There are tons of good content on life sciences sector and the non-life sciences sector in English. So go and sort of, I think, hear audio videos whenever you have time. And with the advent of technology, you have in your hand today the device, and you can download videos, you can listen to videos on the go. There's so much you can do. So with this, welcome you to this program. And if you have any question, I'm very, very happy to answer these questions. I'm available.
Thank you, sir. So, students, if you have any questions, please feel free to put up your questions.
One of the important things is to attend sessions. Please do not, although there will be recordings, but nothing like live. You can ask your questions in the live sessions. You can have very interactive session with the people like, Said sir and Dr. Vipra. I think you can have a great, one-to-one sessions where you talk, ask questions, keep your program interactive, ask questions. I think the more you ask, more you'll be able to get out of them actually. So with this, again, welcome everyone. Dr. Vipra, over to you. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, sir. I would request Saeed Shadab, sir, to speak to the students related to the pharmacovigilance training part. Shadab, sir. Sir, you are not audible.
Said, you're mute, Said. Yeah, you need to unmute. Because you can start in the meantime, maybe, then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, good evening, all of you, and a very warm welcome from the team Cliniminds. And basically, as Sir has already discussed and informed you about the overall process of clinical trials and the pharmacovigilance. So in today's session, we would like to share with you that what as a student would be expected and how the entire course or how the entire curriculum will be running. So for this, I would be sharing my screen with you to give you a glimpse of the syllabus that would be covered from the clinical trials perspective. Okay, so please confirm once you are able to see my screen. Okay. I hope you all can see the Excel sheet.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So basically, To start with the clinical research topics, we would be first talking about and discussing on the drug discovery part, because that is the stage from where the idea of doing a clinical trial begins. So even before that, because for that process you will need to discover a molecule, and maybe you will need to modify or you will need to combine molecules together. So that would be the first topic or the first module that we will be covering. Moving ahead with the module 2, where we would be giving you an overview of the clinical research that comprises of the introduction to clinical research, what is clinical research, what is the definition as per WHO or as per the ICGCP. We would be discussing on the types of clinical trials and the basically what are the key important terminologies which you will be coming across, who are the important stakeholders, what are the most important documents. So a brief idea or an overview will be covered in this session. Moving ahead, we have phases in clinical research where we would be discussing in detail about all the different phases from phase 0 to phase 4. We would also be having a preliminary overview of what is IND and NDA. Although at this stage we will not be discussing in detail about IND and NDA, because we will be covering these two topics in separate modules. Moving ahead, we have regulations and guidelines. Now, this is a topic, this is a module basically which is very important, because in order to do clinical trials, we need to have a very sound understanding of the guidelines and regulations. So in this, we would be talking initially about the ICH guidelines. We would be discussing that how these guidelines evolved. What were the various incidents which happened, which took place in the past, in the history, which led to the formation of different guidelines. We would be discussing about the E6, which is the good clinical practices. And in the third topic, we would be discussing on the E6R2. E6R2 is basically the integrated addendum to E6R1 or the revision to the original GCP guideline. And this topic is very important from the perspective of interviews also, because this is the latest guideline that we would be following while we are a part of the industry. Then we would be discussing on the Indian GCP guidelines and what are the major differences which exists between the Indian GCP and the ICH GCP. We would be having a separate session on ICMR guidelines, that is the Indian Council of Medical Research guidelines. We would be covering the guidelines related to the FDA and EMA, that is the US guidelines and the European guidelines, because when you enter the industry, you would not be limited to a clinical trial only which is from the Indian pharmaceutical company. You would be part of a clinical trial which might be global. So in that case, you need to be well versed, well aware with the FDA and the EMA regulations. Then we would be discussing on the clinical trial registries. So we have different registries, and we also have the Sugam portal, or the portal where the the different applications are submitted. So these registries will be taught to you, and here we would be having some practical assignments so that you all can go through the registry and do your own research and come up with the answers to the assignment. So this would be a pretty interesting exercise. Then we would be discussing on the new drugs and clinical trial rules of 2019. Again, this is the latest regulation that we cover from the perspective of the Indian pharmaceutical industry. Okay. Just give me 2 minutes, students. I would be continuing. Okay. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Then comes the next important topic, which is roles and the responsibilities of the key stakeholders. Now, whenever we talk about clinical trials, clinical trial is always a teamwork. You don't have one single person who can complete the entire trial process. You have people from different, educational qualification, different background, who will be involved in the different activities, which in totality forms the entire trial process. So we have sponsor, we have vendors, we have investigators. In addition to this, we have the trial team, which is working at the site, at the hospital where the clinical trials are conducted. So we would be discussing about the responsibilities of the trial team. We would be discussing about the IRB and the IEC, which is the ethics committee. Moving ahead, we would also be having some assignments. Like Sir mentioned, that it will not be only a theoretical session. We would also be having, uh, okay, we would also be having assignments, like we would be giving you some topics for PowerPoint presentation and for poster presentation. We would be having the next module as your clinical trial planning and preparation, where we would be discussing on the important topics like the clinical trial design, protocol design. When we talk about protocol design, apart from understanding that what a protocol is and what are the important elements of a protocol, it is very important for each one of you to understand that how a protocol is read and understood. What, whenever you get a protocol, how are you going to understand the information? Because that is the document which we will be using while conducting the clinical trials. Then as we move ahead, we would be having sessions on case report form designing and also practical exercises or assignments on CRF design. Then we have module 6 as essential documentation in clinical research and the regulatory submissions. This is again a very important topic from the perspective of interviews, where we would be discussing on all the important essential documents, what will be their location, what is the purpose of each and every document, which document needs to be sent to the sponsor, which documents are only present at the site or the hospital where the trial is conducted. And along with this, we will be having again the practical assignments or exercises on essential documents. Then we have a topic on electronic trial master file. Along with this, we also have the practical exercise on ETMF, where you will be getting hands-on training on the ETMF software. Then we have the IND and NDA application. These two topics in detail will be covered in this particular module 6, and then the clinical study report. When we talk about the next module, that is related to the study startup, which is talking about how a site is selected, how a hospital is selected for the conduct of clinical trials, and what are the different aspects which are taken care of by the sponsors when a site has to be selected and finalized for the clinical trials. Uh, then we have a topic on site contracts and budgeting. Now, whenever a trial is conducted, there is an agreement which is between the investigator and the sponsor. So what will be the content of that agreement? What are the different parameters, terms and conditions? Okay. Uh, then we have the site initiation, subject recruitment and retention, informed consent, and the practical on the informed consent. So where you will be designing the informed consent document. Then we have the clinical monitoring essentials, where we would be talking about the monitoring activities, like the site monitoring or the routine monitoring activities. We would be covering practical sessions again in this module related to the source documents. Then we would be having topic on drug safety reporting, uh, followed by a practical on safety reporting. We have a specific topic on serious adverse event reporting and the different timelines of serious adverse event reporting. Then drug accountability, clinical trial management system, and the IRT, followed by practical assignment on drug accountability. The last topic for this module will be the site closeout. Moving ahead, we have the last module, which is module 9, that is compliance, auditing, and quality control, where we have three topics: SOP, audit and inspection, and electronic records and electronic signature. So this is an overview of the syllabus that would be covered during the program. Apart from this, we will be having a lot of practical assignments and activities, not only related to clinical trials, but also related to aptitude sessions and your group discussions, communication sessions. So what is expected from each one of you is that first you should be regular in your sessions, attend each and every session so that you are able to maintain the connectivity between the topics. Second is complete the assignments in a timely manner, because your assignments would be reviewed and you would be provided with feedback. And the feedbacks will help you to make modifications or corrections. So once you get the feedback, you will know where you went wrong. So that is actually very important for a learning progress. Okay. Coming to the attendance, we have requirement of 95% minimum attendance, which is expected from each one of you. Moving ahead, when we talk about the examination, we would be conducting 2 internal assessment examination and 1 final examination. So internal assessment examination will be conducted 2 months after the program starts. Okay. And the final examination will be conducted 15 days after the course completes, which means your theory and your practical sessions, once it completes, you will be having your final examination. The final examination will be conducted on LSSDC platform, for which the credentials and the link will be shared by us before your scheduled exam date. So that will be a separate link and separate credentials which will be sent from our end. Okay. The passing percentage for this examination would be 70%. So minimum 70% is required in internal examination as well as the final examination. Okay. Any queries, any questions till here? Okay. So I consider this as no. Moving ahead, your attendance will be taken by the faculties during the sessions. So please make it a point that whenever you are in the session and the faculty requests you to answer, please unmute and answer. Okay. So in case if there is no answer, no response from your end, we would consider the student as absent in the session. Okay. So that's all from my end currently. After Mr. Saeed's session, I would be showing you, I will be taking you through your intranet portal so that you know how to access the portal, where you will be able to find the presentations and the notes. Saeed sir,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Vipra, for a nice session. My name is Syed Shadab. I'm working as a senior trainer and consultant for Cliniminds. I joined very recently, as introduced by Mr. Kamal. I have 18 years of experience in various fields like pharmacovigilance, clinical research, medical writing, and also in the hospital pharmacy as a healthcare professional. I did my M.Pharm from Jesus College of Pharmacy, Mysore. Today, I am going to brief you about the introduction of pharmacovigilance. Introduce you to the pharmacovigilance. Okay. Let me share my screen first, so that you are able to see my presentation. Please confirm whether you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. So today I'm going to introduce what is pharmacovigilance and how it is evolved, what is its importance, and who are involved in the pharmacovigilance process, and how the Cliniminds train and groom individual on pharmacovigilance. Okay, pharmacovigilance in simple terms means safety, drug safety. Okay, it is defined as the science and activities relating to the detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effects or any medicine vaccinated problems. Here, what we are doing is we are identifying the problem, assessing it, how it has happened, where it has happened, and what are the risk factors involved in these adverse events or adverse reactions, and what the measures can be taken to prevent or minimize the harm that can cause to a patient. Okay, we are not only capturing the adverse drug reaction and adverse events, we are also capturing here all medicine or vaccine related problems in terms of medication errors, overdose, underdose, off-label use, occupational exposure to a medication, and so on. So how it is evolved, the pharmacovigilance? If you go back to 1950s or before, so most of the drugs were approved based on the efficacy. So very less importance were given to the drug safety. One tragedy which opened the eyes of the health authorities or regulatory authorities, where it mandated that no, now onwards you should study the efficacy and safety both when you do any studies. And safety data is equally important as efficacy data in order to get the approval of the drug. So that incident is called thalidomide tragedy. Are you aware of this thalidomide tragedy? What happened in late 1950s? Any idea?
No, sir. No.
Okay. This was an excellent drug used to treat morning sickness in pregnant women. So most of the pregnant women in the first trimester will have the nausea and vomiting as a symptoms, as the pregnancy symptoms. So these drugs work magically in preventing this morning sickness, and it was been prescribed heavily in European countries for 2 years to treat this condition. And within these 2 years, the health authority of the healthcare professionals started to identifying the babies were born without the 4 limbs, with birth defect. So there, the health authority started investigating the cases, and they found that most or all the pregnant women who had given birth to such birth defect children had taken the thalidomide. So it was a huge loss because the children were born without the 4 limbs, and that it's a loss for their parents and also a loss for the country as economically, because they will not able to grow and benefit to the country. So this made the health authorities to have stringent regulations for pharmacovigilance in order to protect the patient and drug and also the company. So why pharmacovigilance? Why it is important? Pharmacovigilance is important because the first thing is to protect the patients. How you protect the patients? By reporting the adverse drug reactions, adverse events, and also other medicine-related problems. So once you protect the patients, you protect your drug, because once if the patient is not protected and your drug can cause harm to the patients, that means there will be a action taken on the drug. Correct? The health authority will either stop your marketing of the drug, or ban the drugs completely, or even ban the company, because the company had not taken the systemic effective measures to protect the patients. So if you don't protect the patients, your drug will be gone to the market, and it can come up to the company existence. As Kamal sir said, a lot of money has been invested to get one molecule approved by the health authority to market the drug. So it goes through the preclinical stage, clinical stage, and it takes lot of time, like 8 to 10 years, to get one drug into the market and $1 billion. So that has to be recovered by the company, because the company cannot work under loss. That has to be recovered by the company within 15 to 20 years, then the drug will be open to the generic market, where the parent company may have a little income after that. So clear cut, no pharmacovigilance, no company, no drug. And there is no drug without the adverse events. You cannot tell that our drug is completely 100% safe. No. Pharma companies study the drugs. They have a list of drugs, a list of adverse events before this marketing of the drug. And they communicate to the health authority, and health authorities, and we, along with the pharma companies, communicate to the patient as a patient in the form of patient information leaflet or package insert to the drug. Any question here up now? So who is involved in pharmacovigilance? Patient, obviously, they are the user of the medications, and doctors and pharmacists, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. Here, the doctor prescribes the medications, and other healthcare professionals may administer or influence the patient to take the medications. The regulatory authorities, once the drug is approved, they approve the drugs, and once the drug is approved, they allow the access. They allow the medications to market into that region, and where the patient can access to them will have the access to the medications. Pharmaceutical companies and companies importing or distributing medications will make the medicine available to the patients. So the objective here is to promote the safe use of medication with minimum or no harm to the patients. Either you can prevent the harm based on the nature of the harm or severity of the harm, or you can minimize those harms. So pharmacovigilance is a continuous process where you monitor the drug for its safety and efficacy. Because if there is no efficacy, then there is no safety. Because the patient takes the medication to treat the ailment. The patient is already suffering from the ailment. If there is no efficacy, then his or her ailment will exaggerate. It will lead to, it can complicate the condition. All right. So what we do in pharmacovigilance, the core activity is the collecting and managing data on safety of medications. Here we collect adverse drug reactions, adverse events, and other medicine-related problems such as medication errors, off-label use, occupational exposure, then underdose, overdose. Okay, we collect and we store this information in the form of we store this information in the database, and we evaluate this information periodically in order to see whether the data what we are receiving are not causing any harm or not giving any additional problems to the patients. Okay, that is called signal. When we identify the deviation from the existing data, we call it a signal. Signal can be a new adverse drug reaction, or it is change in the frequency of the safety information of the adverse drug reaction. Both are harmful to the patients. Then we evaluate the data and make the decision with regard to safety issues. What can be done to avoid the harm to the patient? For example, if you have the adverse event like heartburn or gastritis, so the paracetamol drug has to be taken after food. Now here the patient is taking the paracetamol whenever he wants, and he's taking that before food. So before food can cause the paracetamol can cause the gastric erosion. So once the gastritis has been reported to this drug, so we see why it has happened. So that means the patient is not aware that the drug has to be taken after food. So we need to communicate with the healthcare professional, the advisor, or we should have patient awareness programs to communicate this to the patient, whether this drug has to be taken after food. This is a simple example. There are lots of examples like heart failure, there was a COX-2 inhibitor, celecoxib. So this drug initially was marketed as an effective drug as a painkiller, even in the cardiac patients. Later on, there was a signal it can cause heart failure because natural mechanism it will inhibit prostaglandin will cause the constrictions, and it can lead to it can affect the supply of blood to the heart. So here, so you protect your drug by having a black box warning saying that this drug should not be taken if you have cardiac problems. So your drug is safe here. So we need to act periodically or immediately whenever we have the signal of the safety information. How we can protect our drug in the market? What measures we can take? How we can educate? How we can avoid these adverse events? How we can minimize these adverse events? So these are the measures where where the pharma company takes and communicate with the health authority and with the healthcare professional in order to prevent or minimize the harm to the patients. Okay, the pharma company not only communicate with the health authorities, also communicate with all the stakeholders in order to make sure that this information has been communicated all the relevant persons, relevant departments in order to prevent the harm to the patients and to communicate effectively to the consumers. For example, if you have the marketing department, so if they're conducting any market research studies, so the marketing department should be aware of this safety information to make sure that you will not get adverse events because of this harm to the people, because of this adverse drug reaction. Because we can avoid these questions, or we can avoid these questions, or we can make sure that we can communicate with the healthcare professionals that so you make sure that your patients are taking the drug in a right manner, a right time, and right dose. Then comes the audit of the outcomes and key process involved. This is the check where our processes are working smoothly and effectively. So what it ensures pharmacovigilance, what we get pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance should ensure that we have a dedicated platform to communicate safety and efficacy of the products. For example, if anybody wants to communicate the safety information, for example, health authority or the patient or the healthcare professional, there is a proper communication channel where one can communicate this information to the pharmacovigilance department. So there is a person assigned to collect this information, and he or she will have the 24-hour contact numbers and also dedicated email ID to collect this information. This will ensure the rational and safe use of medications. Once you know why the adverse event is happening, so you take the measures in order to prevent this in future. Once the adverse event has been reported, so for example, if you have the one drug called Pradaxa, you should not, this drug should not be prescribed in severe renal failure patient. So Pradaxa is a blood thinner, and it is mainly prescribed for the cardiac patients, and also having the concomitant disease as so physician may not be aware of that this drug is not has not to be prescribed in severe renal failure patients. What the prescription, what the physician is, so the patient is already on this Pradaxa drug, and the patient renal condition is been deteriorating. So here, what physician may not stop the drug because he was not aware either the patient renal function is deteriorating or aware of the information that this drug should not be prescribed in severe renal failure patients because it will lead to accumulation of the drugs and toxicity, which is a life-threatening or fatal issue. So here, once you identify this patient, then you need to communicate not only the communicate this to the physician who has been prescribed this drug. Also, a mass communication has to be go out, to make sure that no other will repeat same mistake. Is clear? That timely assessment and communication of risk and benefit of the drugs on the market. So it is a continuous and a routine process where the pharma companies assess the safety and efficacy of the drug and communicate to the stakeholders, health authorities, healthcare professionals, and also with the distributors and with other departments in the company itself. And they educate and inform the patient, consumers, stakeholders on risk and its management. There might be additional risk management plan by the pharma companies to avoid or minimize such risk happening in future, so that we can save our drug in the market. So coming to the pharmacovigilance in Cliniminds, so we have, as Dr. Vipul said, we have a proper plan where we focus on its importance and competencies in the industries, and we have developed a robust training program to meet the industry and the regulatory requirement. So if you want to work in pharmacovigilance department, you should be aware of the local regulations, international regulations, and what the company require internally, because in terms of working instruction, SOPs, and so on. We have a total of 9 modules. We are going to share these modules with you, and which will brief you about, which will give you the background on the clinical research, pharmacovigilance, pharmacology of the medications, pharmacovigilance full hand training, and also the software and databases which have been used in pharmacovigilance. That full module will be shared by us to you, and you can go through the full. I can show the screen of just the glance of the how it looks. Here it is. Overview of clinical research, pharmacovigilance principles, pharmacology and general principles, introduction to pharmacology, okay, pharmacology regulations, as I told you, hands-on training on case processing, how to use software, database, safety reporting, including medical information from where we can receive the ICSR, and what are the counterfeit medications, and how it can lead to adverse reactions, and so on. Special situations where we can have the risk factors for the cause the adverse reactions, and so on. Then aggregate reports, signal management, risk management. This itself is a huge topics where I or somebody else will be going to touch on this. We will be training you on these topics. Okay. Then document how you do the documentation in pharmacovigilance. What are audits and inspection? How to face the audits and inspections? Then advanced pharmacovigilance and analytics. These are the topics where we are going to train you in future with this program. Any questions? Thank you. If you have any questions, do let me know. Anything is clear? Unclear to you?
Sir, I have a question.
Okay.
What is the difference between adverse event and adverse effect?
Adverse effect is any nausea or unintended harm to the patient where you have the causal relationship between the drug and the event. Okay, so once you take the drug is an adverse event, adverse reaction happens that is related to the drug taken, is suspected. Okay, when in adverse reaction there might not be a drug. It's not be necessary because of the drug. For example, if you once you get and enroll into or not, all the events have been captured as an adverse events. To the drug. It may be other risk factors. Adverse drug reaction happens when you use the drug for treatment or prophylaxis in normal doses, not in high doses, low doses, or because of medication errors and so on. Where there should be a clear-cut relationship between the drug and the event, and the event has to be related to the drug. Any question further?
No, sir.
And thank you. See you soon then again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So moving ahead with the next session, the session is related to how to access your student portal, because your student portal would be a platform where you would be getting access to all the notes, all the presentations, practice tests, the session recordings, and also the presentations which will be used by the different trainers during the sessions. So uh, I would take you through the student portal. Right now for today, I would be using the reference of an old student so that you will have an idea that under which tab what information will be visible. Currently, when you will be logging into the system using your credentials, you might not have the recordings. You might not have anything in the latest session presentation section, because that will be available once you start with your sessions. Okay. So let me share the screen. Shadab sir, can I start sharing the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Okay. I hope this student login screen is visible to you. Okay. So in the system generated emails that each one of you must have received or will be receiving in the next week, you will receive the link to access this student portal. You will be receiving the username and the password. So to simplify this, your username is your email ID, the registered email ID. So whatever email ID you have mentioned in the registration forms, that will be your username. The password will be system generated and it will be sent from our end to your registered email ID. So using these two information, you will be able to log in into the portal. So I have already entered the username and the password. And if I click here after entering the code, it will it should redirect me. Let me use some other students' information. Okay. So I hope the second screen is visible now. This is the home page or the landing page of your student portal. Now, and in this page, you can see a tab known as latest session presentation, latest session videos, assessment portal, admission documents upload, required information, feedback, training records, change password, logout. Then we have the name of the active course. So for this student, the student is registered only in pharmacovigilance. So the course name reflecting here is only pharmacovigilance. The course name which will be reflecting in your portal will be as per your enrollment. So if anyone has registered for CRPV, the course name will be Advanced Postgraduate Diploma in Clinical Research and Pharmacovigilance e-learning weekend. Okay. So first we talk about the latest session presentation. So under the latest session presentation, the presentations which are used by the trainers, by the different faculties, that will be uploaded after the completion of the session. So once a session completes, then the presentation will be uploaded here. Okay. And you have under the action button, you have click to start. So once you click here, the particular presentation will open and it will be available to you. Let's take this example. So the presentation is still loading. So currently this section will be blank for all of you because you have not started with the session. Once you start, you will be able to see the presentations as we progress further. Okay. Uh, it might take some time to load. Okay, maybe due to the slow internet, it is taking some time to load. So another important thing with this is that you should always try to use, a proper internet facility. Avoid using mobile data for attending sessions or for going through your content because it will take time to load and the time would be more when you are trying to play the videos. Okay. So coming to the latest session video, here you will be able to see the uh, latest session recordings which are uploaded. So once the session completes, the recording would be uploaded here. Going to the next tab, which is assessment portal. So under the assessment portal, you will be able to see when internal assessments are allocated to you. So after 2 months, when the internal assessment link will be allocated to you, that information will be visible under the assessment portal section. Okay. After this, we have admission documents upload. So currently you are not required to upload documents here. We would be sending a separate email. And in that email, there are certain documents which you need to submit. Along with this, we will also be sharing an Excel file and you need to update the information in that Excel file. So that information will be used for your registration in LSSTC so that you can appear in your final examination. Then we have this feedback button. So from the feedback button, you can uh, go and click and send your feedback. You have different tabs if you have any feedback pertaining to academics, for course related queries, for placements, for IT, for logistics. You have different tabs. So accordingly, you can click the tab and give the feedbacks or your queries. Okay, in the training records, your training record would be visible. Okay, and all the other information, course related information would be visible, right? Coming to the course, so here when you click on the course name, it is divided into different modules, and against each module you have a start date and you have an end date, and under the action item you have the start button. So each module is having certain chapters. So the syllabus that we had shown you, as per that syllabus, the modules are organized and the chapters are organized. So when you click here, it will take you to the subtopics or the sub chapters in the particular module. So here you have presentations. So these presentations and notes are pre-uploaded in your portal. So as of now, when you get access and you log in, you will be able to see these presentations and notes. Against each topic, we have test buttons, and these test buttons will be active once you read the presentations and the notes. The score that you get in these tests. So, for example, if you obtain 80% or you get 90% or you get 60%, whatever scores you are obtaining here, it will not be used while calculating your final percentage. These tests are only for your practice purpose, so that once you complete a particular topic, you can go through the test, attempt it, and try to see uh, what is the understanding level, so that if required, you can rework on the topic. Okay. Against this, you have a column for video or annexure. So if there are any annexures, it will be uploaded here. It is not mandatory that all the chapters will have annexures. Okay. So this is how the content is organized. Similarly, when you go to module 2, likewise, you will be able to see the again subtopics. Okay. So this is about the student portal. Any queries, any questions related to the student portal?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I would also share the link to this student portal on your WhatsApp group so that you can go through that link from there itself. Apart from this, you will also receive the information on your email IDs. Okay. To add to this, we also have the WhatsApp group, and on that WhatsApp group, you will be provided with any updates or any information, the session related information, what is the session schedule, what is the link to join the session, what will be the time and topic, faculty, everything will be sent to you on your email IDs. Okay. So please make sure that you mark Cliniminds as not spam so that you receive it in the inbox, because we have seen in the past that students do receive the emails but they go into the spam folder. So that is basically your Gmail setting, which you will need to make sure that it is not into the spam. Okay. So initially you may need to also check the spam folder, because maybe it's possible that few initial mails may go into spam. Okay. So I will just show you the sample of an email that how the session related information is circulated. Give me a moment so that for the next week when you receive the schedule, you will have an idea. Okay. So this is how the session related information would be received by you. So it will be going to your registered email ID, which will have the session details. So the topic name would be there, the name of the trainer who will be taking the session date, day and time would be mentioned, the batch name, and you will have option. So either you can click here to join the meeting or you can copy the URL, right? Apart from this, if you click on this, where you can see click here to view your upcoming session detail. So if you click here, also it will redirect you and it will take you to another page where the session related information would be visible. So that will be a consolidated information. So this is how the information would be visible to you. Okay. So email is the preferred mode of communication. Sorry, actually, I accidentally closed the tab where we were running the session. Okay. So, any queries, any questions? So, we would be commencing your sessions from next weekend, that is next Saturday and Sunday. Okay, and you will be receiving the information for the session by Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. So next week we will also be having, so before we start with the session next week, we will be having interaction with the placement head, Mr. Rahul Malya. So post his session, we would be taking up the topic. So thank you all of you for joining in today, and we wish you all the best for a successful course and career ahead. The recording for this session would be auto uploaded on your portal, which you can go through once you get access to the portal.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you all of you. Have a great day.